Red Bull gives you wings.
Stephanie with the swing back with a double kill, 3 into the round.
One enemy remaining. One enemy.
Rihanna with 4 kills in the round.
And they just spam it!
And Kinsey has to hold it in the sight. Make that even a third.
Want to huddle in on this site. Floor up first, and Cat's already done. There's a run it back that you were just mentioning. Illinois' timing on this is going to be so good. Once again, Misu caught in an unwinnable situation, and they've done so well to keep them back. But DSG clawing their way back into this. The 2v2, Hannah has lockdown, but time is short. There's really no way you invested here, right? 70 HP for Alexis. Or excuse me, for Floor. 3!
No way.
Make it 4! The thing is, there are a lot of members that are weak. There's the first one to go down. Katarina does. She dares swing. It was just a shoulder, just an elbow. And it was just enough. Noya on the third.
Last player standing.
And you've got Sarah who's falling down. It's going to have to be an ace to pull it off with 3 bullets left. They connect. Noya. That is unfortunate and unlucky, but Noya's going to do it, bro.
No way.
I mean, it's still Floor's still out of the play because of the op. It's all on Noya. I mean, maybe she picks up a weapon and goes for it. No way. She's going to want to push Floor with a huge play. 3 on the round.
It's going to be broken if they lose.
One enemy remaining.
Yeah, and it seems like it's going to be the case. Unless Floor can 1v3, and she knows where the last player is. She dashes, she goes on top, and Floor pulls it off. Divide, but maybe no good way to place it, nowhere to isolate the gunfights, and for it to go down for a multi-kill for Floor.
Spike now planted for Katarina. Pivoting towards the back of the generator. The dash forward. Oh, what a flick there on the Katarina.
Do they commit to the site? They
yeah.
do. Claudia's in there.
They definitely do, and Claudia's playing towards the back of the pillar. Raise for the support. Just running through the smoke at the drop. Now the crossbar set up, and you start things off with a 4 kill. Working out.
There's the help.
So good here. 4 even paint shells to come on the other end. It's Len, as Lace only has a sheriff until now. Wall bang onto Mizu. Round. Snake bite now to try to push the attack back. And right on it, vulnerable. The attack showstopper out from Katarina doesn't land the shot. Instantly, we have a 5 versus 2.
Yeah.
Tap on the spike, and a headshot from Lace! Recolor ping 2. Huge from both ends. Back to a 1 versus 1. Spike now picked up, and a headshot from Jazz against...
Good morning and welcome everyone to the Verizon Game Changers Series 2 North America 2023. We're finally down to Championship Sunday, where it is time to find out which team will be crowned as our 7th Game Changers champion. Of course, I won't be alone on the desk today. I'll be joined along the likes of Mimi and Wyatt, who, if I'm not mistaken, Mimi, you've been through hell and back yesterday. You almost died in preparation for the grand finals today riding your bike.
I don't know if that's the narrative I'm going to go for, but it makes it sound really intense. So yeah, super dedicated today to the grind to get ready for this grand finals.
Yeah, Mimi will do anything to be here. I respect that, Mimi.
Honestly,
Dedication.
same for you, Wyatt. You've been under attack by these very scary creatures called ants who
Oh,
are
yeah.
infesting your house.
Oh my god. Yeah, my bathroom is under siege by the ants right now. The walls of Minas Tirith are falling in my bathroom to the ants. It's a dire situation, and hopefully in these multiple hours of Game Changers, they don't totally overrun my living situation.
But that's the thing. Despite the fact that the tyranny the ants are bringing upon you is happening directly in your home, you're still here. And that shows what a good final it's going to be and how exciting it's going to be here for Game Changers.
You know,
So real.
you speak about tyranny and you speak about domination, and there's been a team that has been absolutely dominant. But before we speak about them too specifically, let's go ahead and pull up that bracket so we can take a macro look as far as how the season has panned out. And straight off the bat, Wyatt, there's a couple of things that remind me a lot, and I have a sense of deja vu where we see version 1 again in the grand finals. But there are some notable differences from the previous Game Changers seasons rather that we've watched. Notably, we see Shopify Rebellion, who had been historically in the grand finals facing version 1 every single time. We saw them be eliminated a little bit sooner than we're expecting them to, as well as two different teams in the top 4 along the likes of DSG and Complexity.
Yeah, 100%. This is the first time since the Bronze Age that there's a new team in the grand finals competing against a V1, which is really exciting. And like you said, just having two teams that are totally different, DSG being newly formed as of the past 2 weeks, making it to that lower bracket final was awesome, and Complexity winning that game in the fashion they did in that a display of impressive individual skill as well as team play. Very cool to see these new teams rising to the top, being able to contend for the title.
You know, for 7 Game Changers, or 6, I suppose, after the first one, I've come on here and I've said, this one is the most competitive one ever. Finally, the teams in the top are changing. And I was lying, because it was Shopify Rebellion versus either Cloud9 or version 1 every single time in the grand finals. This really does feel like it is the first big shake-up, the first new era, with Shopify following way earlier in this tournament than I think anyone would have expected. It opened up for these runs from Complexity breaking through their barriers, or from DSG making that dream run happen. And it really is the most competitive, the most different that I've ever seen in one of these events.
And what an impressive grand finals that we finally are left with version 1 taking on Complexity. Version 1, of course, being the team that we've seen time and time again dominating at the very top, but Complexity, a team that's relatively new, with Jazzykins joining only 6 months ago, and only in this recent season is she in-game leading. But it all starts with us talking about version 1, because Wyatt, there's no way for us to exaggerate how dominant they have been. It has been the era of Mel and Alexis time and time again, with them winning every single Game Changers in existence, 7 back-to-back.
Yeah, that duo has just done nothing but win. Literally nothing but win in the North American Game Changers scene. This roster that was created at the beginning of the year to be stronger than even C9 White was so far has bore a lot of fruit. It has mission accomplished up until this point. They are outrageous. The amalgamation of talent here is just indescribable, led by Floor, who is just being set up perfectly by the two veterans mentioned.
And that's the thing, despite the fact that Cloud9 was so dominant that Mel and Alexis won every single Game Changers before version 1, this team, honestly, I think looks better than that Cloud9 roster ever was. All 5 of these players have their moments looking like absolute stars. Floor and Noya in particular, these 2 young players that have been picked up and implemented into the fantastic system that Lexi and Mel have built over their years playing together, are obviously the stars of that one, but it's also that their aspirations are higher. Game Changers at this point is almost just a side thing for this team. Their fixation is on co-ed, on being the best possible team they can be, not just being the best Game Changers team. And with those lofty goals, it's just been a byproduct, their dominance here in GC.
Mimi, I'm glad that you mentioned Noya as well as Fluorescent. Fluorescent, obviously, the best player in Game Changers, hands down, but there's no doubt that Noya has played such a pivotal and impactful role for this team, Wyatt.
Yeah, absolutely. This has definitely been a bit of a breakout tournament, and when you have someone else on the V1 squad playing at an extremely high level in tandem with the ever consistent individual abilities of Floor, that is just gonna take them to a totally different echelon beyond everyone else, and that's what we've seen here. Noya has been so reliable, so good on the defense, anchoring sites, and it's just what's taking them over the top right now.
You take the president of Denmark, you take her to Minnesota, she feels at home and just continues to perform. Noya's growth, even beyond when she was playing back in Europe and was an excellent player then, and in the early stages with V1 and XSET before that, was always a star. But I feel like here in this roster, the way she fits in is so good, because she's not really playing the chamber, she's not playing a jet role, it's all those supportive agents. But with such an aggressive and excellent entry player in Fluorescent, it gives her these late rounds to thrive in the clutches. She's excellent. As a solo site anchor, she's excellent. It's just been such a consistent tournament for her, and despite the fact that Flores continued to be just so damn good, we've gotten a lot more moments, I think, where people have actually been able to see how good Noya is beyond the other stars on this squad.
And in fact, all of these excellent pieces are, of course, being orchestrated by the in-game leader in Mel. And this matchup that we see in the grand finals is particularly interesting, Wyatt, when you take a look at the fact that Jazzykins was a player that was part of that dominant Cloud9 White era. And now that she's sort of left the nest, she is now an in-game leader. Having once trained under the likes of Mel, she's left the nest, and now she's in-game leading in spectacular fashion for Complexity.
Yeah, it's cool to see Jazzy pick up the IGL role. Years ago, she was the upcoming player being trained by Mel, the scion of Mel. And now at this point, it's the IGL head-to-head after she's gotten those years of experience. The years of experience being on a top-level team, a team that's winning championships over and over. This head-to-head is so cool. It's an awesome story. It highlights the development of this scene that we're witnessing with these new teams rising up, the new talent that is rising to the top. It's just so cool, and I'm excited to see sort of the mind games that are at play that come with that familiarity that they have together.
And when you listen to interviews with Jazzy and you talk to her, I think you can really see Mel's philosophy for the game connecting into what Jazzy is now bringing to her own squad, fixating on hard work and dedication, really spending that time to trade up, enabling the players under her. She's still the duelist for this team. She still could be the star, but she calls in a way that is given space for her teammates to be better. Particularly Lacey, she was always great, but with this IGL switch up, she has been excellent and has built a system under Jazzykins here that is working so well for Complexity. The team was together for 2 years, but under the leadership of Jazzy, they've finally broken through into their first final.
Indeed, it's their first top two. And let's take a deeper look at Complexity right here, right now, because you said it yourself, Mimi. It's been 2 years since this roster still got brought together, but it was only 6 months ago that Jazzy gets brought in, and only more recently that Jazzy sort of took that leadership role in being the in-game leader for this team, and we see it come to fruition with them being able to reach the grand finals, and now they have their biggest task ahead of them, Wyatt, in facing version 1 yet again.
Yeah, it's their deepest run yet. They played against version 1 in that upper bracket. They were the team that pushed version 1 the hardest in this tournament. You can just see the wealth of talent. I mean, just from these highlights, Kara always so accurate, so good with the taps. Lacey just emanates confidence in every game that she plays. The leadership from Jazzy that we've mentioned, the consistency of their support players. This team has got it all right now, and I'm excited to see if they can push V1 even further than they did in that upper bracket.
And I think what makes this team so good, in part, is their adaptability. Yesterday in the lower final against DSG, they played against 2 new compositions. They had to adapt on the fly against a team who plays a very unusual style, and they were able to do so. And I think that's a testament to Jazzy's IGLing, to the system that this team has built up, especially after only really bringing on their new coach, Coach Joe, just in the few months leading up to the second Game Changers event, who has been so helpful, as the players have said, in building up their style, in changing their compositions, and propelling them to this point where they're now in the finals.
And you can tell how hungry they are. I feel like in so many of the Game Changers prior seasons, we were used to this rivalry that had existed at the time between version 1 and Shopify Rebellion, and then even before that it was Cloud9 White versus Shopify Rebellion. Now with Complexity in the grand finals, we had the fortune of speaking with Lace yesterday in that post-match interview where she shared her thoughts, so let's go ahead and take a look.
It's like honestly unreal. Like this is, you know, we've always been working for this for I think 2 years. You know, I think the first thing I did after we won, I like jumped up, I ran to Allie, who's believed in me since I was like a gold player, like in a random ranked lobby. Like she took a chance on me and she like trained me up, and I gave her a big hug and just said like, we finally did it. Like this was worth something, right? Because like for the past 2 years we've been playing every day, 8 hours a day, and like honestly not much results to show for it, but it feels really nice to finally perform and have like a really solid roster of like really just like a family, right? And we're grinding every day, and it feels so amazing.
That's such a wild answer, Mimi, to say how she went from being this gold player and then someone taking her under their wing, and now she's the second best player in Game Changers. That's insane, Mimi.
Yeah, and that player who took her under her wings was Allie, who started this GX3 roster before it was Complexity, brought her experience back from other games into Valorant, and built up this young talent. It never worked out. They only placed top 5th or 6th. It was always a good team, but never great enough to push over this line. But Lacey stuck to the project, stuck with Complexity after they got signed, and was always there. And after 2 years, it's finally paid off. They're finally into the finals, and you can really see what it means to her and to this team to make that accomplishment happen after all this time.
And what a culmination of effort from the side of Lace. I mean, Mimi, you said it yourself. She's the only OG player from that original Complexity roster remaining. She's fought this hard, and now she's in the grand finals. And what a better rivalry. We talk about rivalries, and we mentioned Fluorescent earlier. Fluorescent, hands down, the best player that we've seen in Game Changers. But look at this head-to-head between Lace and Floor. Wyatt.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Floor kind of undisputed GOAT of Game Changers right now, but Lacey is making a claim for that throne. She's been superb this entire tournament. The various different agents that she plays in the initiator role, and sometimes picking up the Omen, the smokes as well. Putting up numbers like this in that role is outrageous. I mean, a .92 KPR is something you just don't see from the people playing those agents. She's excellent at supporting her team as well when it's necessary, but then in those situations in the post plants where there's a scrappy moment, where there's fighting, you can just see the level of mechanics that she's on are bar none. Same for Fluorescent, though. In terms of mechanical skill, these are the two best players in Stage 2 right now, and seeing them go head-to-head despite the difference on roles is going to be awesome, and it's really going to be one of the highlights of this game, a thing to follow throughout.
Yeah, and you could see on that graphic, Lacey is the second best performing player of this tournament, and her stats are nothing like Fluorescent. Fluorescent is really just in a league of her own right now in Game Changers, and the big task for anyone playing against this version 1 team has to be shutting her down. Because across 2 GC events now, I don't think we've seen a single team that could. V1 is yet to drop a map, and they've only gone to overtime against a team once. But that team was Complexity. This is the squad who has pushed version 1 the most in the past. But in a best out of 5 grand final, it is just such a hard task to get a leg up over V1.
Indeed, you're absolutely right. They were the only team to push version 1 to OT and make things contentious. Let's head into map select right now and see if you are indeed correct, Mimi. That map where they were pushed to overtime was Lotus. And I'm curious, White, if we think that it's going to be taken away. And now we actually see the picks.
Yeah, this makes total sense. V1 typically are going to ban Fracture anyhow. Lotus was the map that they've been pushed the closest onto actually losing in this stage so far from Complexity, so makes sense to get rid of that. And then first map, we're going to be heading into Bind, where V1 play a bit of an unorthodox comp. It's the Harbor Vipers Sage that was pioneered by NRG in Americas. It's not something you see super frequently, and maybe they'll change it up, but that seems to be the thing that they've stuck with so far in recent time, 2023. But as we go through this map pool, it can't be understated how crucial the double ban is going to be for V1 here.
Yeah, it is massive. You get rid of Lotus, which is probably your opponent's strongest map and one of your weakest ones, and also Fracture, your perma. It puts him in a great place here. But I do think this veto was quite predictable. I think you could have seen these two bans coming, but the issue is there just was not that much time to prep. And like we've mentioned, it's really impressive that COL is only 6 months old, that they've been working at this one, but this is only their second BO5. Their first was yesterday, and this is going to be a huge test of their map pool that they haven't really had to show off just yet. But looking early into the series and starting to focus on Bind, that's where my questions around what COL is going to play come in. They played in the Open Qualifier, or excuse me, I believe just in the Closed Qualifier right before making it into this main event against XSET, and they played a similar comp also with the Harbor, but they played the Gecko Brimstone variant of that one, which I've liked when other teams have implemented it, but they got stomped out. It was 13-3 versus XSET. And on the other hand, I think V1 have looked really good with this implementation of the NRG comp.
Yeah, I mean, these two comps here are quite unorthodox for Bind. We've seen a little bit of play from them in other regions mostly, aside from, NRG here, but how they're going to actually match up head-to-head should be interesting, because I don't think we've seen that maybe ever, to be honest.
Indeed, knowing what the maps are now and seeing the performances that we've seen from both of these rosters, we're starting off with Binds, and we'll pull up the agent select as soon as it's ready, Mimi, but what do you think we can expect from either comps or how this will honestly pan out? Do you think this will be a one-sided affair, or do you think Complexity will make this a toughie?
I think Bind is going to be really hard. Like I mentioned, COL has been through the ringer in this one. They've been having to run it back through the lower bracket. After that initial loss to version 1, they've not had a lot of time to prep. On the other hand, version 1 have just been strolling their way on through this entire bracket. So for Complexity here, especially on Bind, the map that is normally their perma, I'm not expecting much. It's really a question of, in this BO5, how can they play the long game? How can they recover? But maybe also, what have they changed after their loss to Exit? What have they learned? Because they are going back to the same composition with a double initiator Gecko.
Yeah, on one sort of maybe final small note, I don't think we've been paying enough attention to or giving enough credit to Raze in a lot of these games. They've really been excellent at opening up sites. We saw that on Pearl with the Phoenix play. Really impactful in the getting kills aspect of the game. Very interested in seeing what they're going to be able to bring out here with the Gecko, if they're going to be able to find that same impact.
For version 1 here and Complexity, they're both running these compositions with this Harbor, and both these comps really do want to put an emphasis on maximizing extremity control to get orbs up. For the defensive side with this NRG comp for V1, a lot of the game plan towards B can be playing retake when you have one of those big ults like the Harbor ult or the Sky ult online. So for COL, I'd honestly like to see a slower style where they're stopping V1 from harvesting those orbs on the extremities, but we'll have to see if they're able to do so, because they have struggled with this comp in the past.
Well, I'm getting word that map number 1 for this grand finals between version 1 and Complexity is ready to get underway. So without further ado, let's head over to our casters and Doug and Sean.
Thank you so much to Sean. It's game time, baby. There's so much to talk about. The fact that we're going to get the privilege of stretching this out over a best of 5 is going to give us a lot of time to talk about some of the history between these players, the history between these squads themselves, even to go back and think about Jazzy was previously a teammate of some of the members that she's going to be going up against today.
Yeah, and she's the IGL of Complexity, has a huge voice within this team, shapes their strats, and she knows how Mel likes the call. There's not many people in this scene that have played under Mel and are now playing against her in a best of 5. So if there's anyone that can take a single map even off V1, it has to be Jazzy.
I mean, she gave it one hell of a shot last time they faced. They talked about it on the desk. It was 14-12 on Lotus, but just not an option today.
Not an option. And Dan, I'm going to cut you off here because it looks like Complexity, they're immediately grouping for this A hit. And it's going to be super heavy up short A. They're running this Harbor comp right now, and it is going to deny so much vision on this A site. Obviously, they're also running a Gecko, right? So I'm expecting some really aggressive play towards the back of the site. Dog immediately going up, Cascade blocking U-Haul, and there's the wall.
They're going to continue to scale up. I mean, they're going to get so much space. Gecko's going to get the spike down. I mean, mission accomplished.
hardly used any util either. Still
Yeah.
2 brim smokes, paint shells, 2 flashes on Kara. They're staying up super aggressive right now.
Dude, and you look at how deep that cascade is, it's going to be so difficult for V1 to get through. So they have to use the Trailblazer from further back than they normally would in order to retake the site. But now, slowly creeping their way forward. They've got the room, but Noya's got a couple of mollies, and you see the utility courtesy of the wall, denying the vision, denying the space of complexity. They're forced on the outside of it.
But this Cove comes in, Dan, and they're already getting half behind the wall and in the Cove.
Mel's gotten to halfway there. That's 3/4, and she's going to stick it. She's going to stick it the whole way. Dude, that's what's so miserable, especially on pistols, about a comp that you have to deal with the Cove and you have to deal with the Sage Wall because it takes forever to get through that.
That's crazy. That is insane that right off the bat, the comps, you see the value for both of them. They're both going to have an easy time planning the spike on their attack halves, right? The Gecko with the Wingman, the Harbor with the Cove, but then the retake potential with this Sage Wall and the Cove, that's wild that they just stuck the spike right there in a 4-on-4. Again, though, a 5 grouping for a hookah pop potentially. We've seen this out of Paper X in the past. They stim right away, but the wall, again, the Sage, so valuable.
It's going to delay a little bit, and this is notably different here because otherwise you'd expect complexity to be stuck on the other side of this wall because they'd have pistols.
Yeah.
But they bought Stingers. They bought 4 of them into this round.
And this was definitely going to be a hookah pop, but you can see what the Sage Wall has done. It's allowed 4 defenders to be around this B site. Right now, complexity is pinned in hookah. There's a Sage holding the rotate out, a Sky, an Octagon, and 2 players in spawn. They don't care though, they're popping.
They're committed fully to this hit. You see the Trailblazers are going to connect on Jazzykins. What more can they find? Floor just waiting on the other side of elbow. And there's a challenge. It's inevitable, and it goes in favor of Jazzykins. Huge as the kills get traded back and forth. Numbers in favor of complexity. Raze is in such a brutal spot here. The judge out from Roy is going to clean them up.
In this Cove hand. Or Dog.
Dog, that's 3 times. Noya with the judge gets another. Mel's going to get it 3/4 of the way. A 3K for Noya. The second round for V1, Bala. What do you make of that?
That's crazy. The Cove on the retake, though, has been so pivotal for V1. I mean, they're just having so much success at pushing complexity out of these chokes. Clearly, complexity they're not fully ready for the quick retake with the Cove and forcing them out of these kind of nooks and crannies. The pistol round, they played super aggressive in U-Haul. Here, they push into elbow. And you can see, once the Cove goes down, it's just full panic.
Now, because they invested 4 Stingers in the previous round, they can only afford 1 this time, and it's in the hands of Lace, who Wyatt was talking about it on the desk. Mimi was too. Lace has been an absolute phenom this tournament, so eyes turn towards her, see what she can find. And actually, as I set all that up, the Stinger was handed over to Race.
Indeed. I'm going to draw attention to this hide side right now in Showers that Mel just threw. You can see it goes into the teleporter. And I'm envisioning later on in this half for that to open up a play where the Sky flashes through the TP and that Harbor sneaks into the teleporter. I think we're going to get it at some point.
We'll see if that's the case. A cascade out from Lace, denying some vision as you see complexity try to creep their way up long. They have some information, and they have the spike over towards A, so you imagine this is going to be a flip of the map, but you don't have any Showers control. Mel's already holding that line. Yeah, they're going to flip, but again, Mel can cut this off. Oh, she's going to tuck tail. She's going to run away.
Great high side from Mel. Blocks up both Showers and Short A. The Viper playing super close there with that judge in hand.
A little squiggly wall coming out from Lace. Oh, and that nade is going to buy a lot of time. There's only 30 seconds left on this, Sean. They're going to have to pop out of here quickly. Uh-oh. Oh, dear. All right, that's fine. All good. Alexis stabilizes with 2 from the Spectre floor with the snap, gets 2 of her own, and they somehow snatch that round back.
The retakes are coming in so hot right now for V1. They are flooding into these sites really well. I'm impressed with Complexity's takes, their abuse of rotations, specifically in that round, and their ideas in the post plan. But V1 just has a next level understanding of how to operate with their comp. And we've seen different uses out of the Sage now in all 3 rounds. Again, though, I think we're about to get a short A-pop right here, Doug.
Yeah, they're bunched up so tightly. And the thing is, for version 1, they won that round, but they only have 2 Bulldogs leading into this next. 3 pistols the rest of the way. Alexis has ult. Uh-oh. Thrash. Gotta get out of the way. Gotta find some space.
Yeah, all this is happening though, Doug, but you can see the hookah push is coming in. There's two immediately behind this hit. And I don't know if they're aware of Fluorescent and Sarah being on this quick of a flank.
It seems like Lace is going to be the first to have contact. Maybe Claudia gets a really good timing, but no, Lace is dropped. Are they expecting Claudia here with the Phantom first dropped? Flora waiting on the second. A little bit of dump of utility, just a Sheriff.
You want more?
And is that going to be enough? Upgraded now to a Bulldog. You hear the second Thrash has been used. There you see the value of a Gecko being able to double dip into that utility. Triple dip in some instances, but the kills once again going back and forth. Phantoms all in the favor of Complexity as it seems like they're going to be able to get this round. And they do. Complexity on the board.
Beautiful round there from Complexity. We get to see finally, Gecko's ult coming into play. Thrash being picked up actually and used twice in this round. We've seen so much value actually out of the wingman so far.
Yeah.
I mean, even on the last round, it allowed them to get that frag on Mel at the bench. It was two players that could have their guns out and trade that kill. So, we're gonna get the hookah pop that we didn't really fully get to see on that second round. I think we're gonna fully get to see what happens here.
The pop that should have been that never was. Sarah's 1 point away from ult. Fluorescent is 2. It seems like they want to set up to get that orb, then have that ult online. Meanwhile, realizing there's about to be a lot of pressure on B. I mean, they're just gonna funnel out, but you gotta be careful. Again, Floor has ult here. What's the cue to go? Because it's got to be inevitable. There it is. Alexis on the flash floor patiently. Has two satchels. Doesn't use any of them to go. In fact, just shoots the ult. Gets the kill. And oh my goodness, Alexis and Floor are just going to rip this site to shreds.
Oh, and Alexis closes that on Lace. I think we were all holding our breath there. Lace has done some insane things for Complexity throughout this run. In my opinion, by far the strongest player on this team.
Yeah, agreed.
And right there, she was given a little bit of respect, but ultimately she doesn't know when that spawn rotate's going to come in and gets flanked on the side of the head by Alexis. Great hold on that B site. 3 players from V1 locking it down completely. Look at this. Doug, they're forcing again and again. We're going to see another hookah pop here. And again, the Sage is here, going to wall this. Yeah, the second she hears that Prim Stimmy. Man.
Oh, the slows too, dude. It's such a good delay.
It's brutal. It's so brutal that they're trying these pops onto a Sage.
The deep flash. Claudia has ult. Chazzy gets this already gotten backside and she's instantly dropped. I mean, it's disaster for Complexity yet again. Another round for version 1.
Yeah, I think it's about time that Complexity, Ali needs to be calling a timeout. They need to be talking to their squad right now because right now the fast plays, the set plays, they're not working. And here it is, the timeout's coming in from Complexity. They have to, spread the map right now. Find where the Sage is playing, break the wall, force rotations out of E1, and then they can do these XX in the mid, in the late round, because just going dry into it is not going to work, right?
Yeah, it's just not working at all. I think the other thing to consider is, as we've been watching version 1, I think back to a couple of rounds where Complexity has even threatened to go fast, and version 1 through Sarah's utility has delayed well, be it the wall and then the slow. But even with that, Sean, they're doing such a good job of not over-rotating, right? You think late into rounds when hits are coming, you still have Anoya who's still controlling showers off of Mel's wall. They aren't fully biting on what they've seen. I think that's going to make it even more difficult for Complexity to try to execute a round.
Yeah, I mean, something that we saw on not that last round, but the round prior when there was 3 people at that B site, they were ready to TP and pinch with showers, right? They have that up their sleeve. I could sense it. There was 3 people stacked towards Octagon, the round that Fluorescent ulted. They have safety net plans in case they do guess wrong, like you're saying. This needs to be a slowed down game from Complexity if they want to steal some rounds in this half.
All right, keep an eye on this. It looks like it's going to be that same harbor wall that we've been talking about for a little while. And check this out. Do you see where Alexis is? She was tucked behind the wall, I guess, to see if they were going to expect a spam out off of Sarah's wall. It just never comes through, but that's now the second time they've tried a cheeky setup around Sage's wall. The first time was on the hookah pop. That just never manifested itself.
She also snagged the orb there. So now there's 2 players in this B site. Long B is walled. They're double stacked holding the hookah run out. They have a Viper wall that cuts off both the B lines. and they're stacked with 3 on the A side. This is going to be an incredibly difficult take right now for Complexity if they enter this A site.
It does seem like they've made a change of pace, so to speak. We talked too much about how it's been pacey for them. It's been execute fast and go and try to catch them slipping, and that hasn't been the case this round. So they've taken your advice, and it seems like they're trying to feel the map out a little bit more before committing.
There they go. They recognize 3 players at this A site. They TP'd. The Sage Wall's already down. They're hitting perfect timing here. This is perfect, Doug.
Oh, it's not perfect enough. It's just not perfect enough. Sarah and Alexis are able to get 2 on their own. They've held the site by themselves, Sean.
Wow. I mean, there just wasn't enough players out in the site. I think the slow from Sarah completely cut them off. Wingman got the spike down, but I mean, what good is that when you only get 1 frag? And at this point, I mean, frags aren't really super valuable. They need round wins. They need to get things super close at very least to break the economy of V1.
Brimstone down. 30 seconds left. Spike planted.
We'll see you take a look at what the money looks like. Because you're right, they've got to be able to chip into that somehow.
They have a lot of ults to work with here. I mean, Showstopper and Thrash are great ults to enter these sites. Ooh, I think some short A aggression's coming in right now from V1. They've yet to aggress. They're playing super up. They back off because of the cascade, though.
And you see what the protocol was there for version 1. As soon as Alexis gets confirmation that there's presence long, Sarah gets that cheeky wall up to help on that angle if they go aggressive. Breaking of the wall, Thrash goes through. Seeker's used by Jessicans. There's no one home. I mean, they're going to get the space. A little bit caught here. Alexis with another great flash on the opposite side of the harbor wall. And now they have the reckoning that they're going to have to navigate through. Sarah trying to drop Raze. Flashed up. Sarah on the second. The third around the corner, and she delivers once more. I mean, this round is wraps. You haven't gotten your way through Sarah, and there's a res to bring Alexis back.
Sage is just honestly incredible this game right now for V1. Sarah not only gets all 3 frags on the hit, reses the 1 death. V1's looking to exit this round flawlessly.
And Complexity, given how things are looking, may want to exit their way out of this map and get to Haven as soon as possible, because this has the potential of getting out of hand so quickly if it hasn't already.
30 seconds left.
Because let's set the scene for what's ahead of us, Sean. You're looking at what, likely 7-1 right now, barring a miracle out of place. You're looking at 7-1 right now for version 1. Complexity doesn't have a ton of money, right? So unless they pull off the Thrifty, you're likely looking at 8-1 right now. At best, you're expecting what, an 8-4 half?
At best, you would think so. And the worst part for Complexity is I truly do think V1's comp is going to be equally as strong on attack.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, the Gecko should provide more value on the attack side due to Wingman, and on the defensive half, you know, the Sage would provide a lot of value, but the Sage and the Harbor will give V1 a lot of plants, both on A and B. And they'll have these poppy plays just like how Complexity has, except there's no Sage to stall them out.
Just like Complexity has, and honestly, just like we saw version 1 approach retakes.
And look
so
at
we'll
this.
see.
It's the standard Viper, ult short A, one-way orb on shower, and wall across the B side. The Harbor does provide a lot of info, though.
They should be able to counter it. It depends on whether or not they can find the pivotal target in the pit. And no, Noya once again navigating it flawlessly. 8 HP, though. She's got to be careful.
Grenade.
And you've got Floor providing cover over the top, and there's just no way into the pit.
Floor just eyes in the sky, protecting Noya.
Dude, and even this, the timing, Sarah and the rest of version 1 are just so quick to pounce. They're so aggressive. They smell blood in the water, and they go for the jugular.
Wow, it is not looking good for Complexity right now. I'm not going to sugarcoat that at all. I mean, this map, you can clearly see why V1 chose this map to start the series on. It's a map that we had only seen Complexity play 1 time. They were 0-1 on the map. I was worried because I think Fluorescent has been so important to V1's success, obviously, throughout this run, and I wasn't sure she would be able to do it on this comp. Honestly, it doesn't even matter. It's just a total team diff right now on this map.
You like the setup out from Complexity. Amali to deny, or excuse me, from version 1, Amali to deny some of that early aggression and fighting for space for that orb. Fluorescence 1 point away from having her ult online.
You can see it at Long B right now. They have a little bit of a bait setup. Sarah's jiggle peeking on the spot. You know, they would get Alexis to flash. They have a high-low in showers.
I don't know that I don't know that they're expecting a second. Yeah, they were not. So they took care of Raze, but they never saw Claudia. Claudia may get a timing on this depending on how things play out.
I think she might get a timing to work to the end at showers, but that's about it.
Yeah.
You know, like that gap gets plugged up really quickly for a team like V1. You can see already Fluorescence holding that, Noya's holding short. They have 3 people at the B site. They're reading the rounds perfectly.
Yeah, this is a perfectly good example. You know, we were talking about the discipline that version 1 play with on defense, how they don't over-rotate, how, you know, regardless of what they see, it's not until they're confident
30 seconds left.
before they flip the map, before they invest into defending one side. And, all right, if she had hit that, that would have been stupid. It's just so disciplined. It's so patient out for version 1. And the patience pays off. There's still 2 here. Claudia's already fallen, and they know the rest is coming, given the cascade, given the fact that there are only 13 seconds left. This is once again going to be the floor firing squad.
She is so good. She is so good.
We're here because we're the best.
I swear, I think we could have like a 20-minute highlight package.
What, out of one game?
Out of just her tournament. She might not have
game, bro.
She might not have played enough rounds by the time it's over, though. That's the bad part. She has ult ear, so I'm looking for probably 2 more on the board for Floor. Close to the teleporter, and the spike was heading towards showers. I think this is that same potential TP play, showers pinch. But you can see, Complexity is thinking twice. They're going towards hookah. I think we've seen this already, Doug.
Yeah, a little deja vu. The one difference here is version 1 and their positioning. Floor and the rest, I mean, Floor, Alexis, and Sarah are all creeping down belong right now. Remember, Floor has ult. Alexis has gone exploratory, gonna confirm. Wow, what a shot out from Lace. The second, too.
A glimmer of hope comes in right there. They're now in a 3-on-5. It's one of the first times I think we've seen them have a first blood and be able to reset the map. And they're choosing to hit this A site. It is the right call. But if you look, Noya's pushed through showers, and she is behind the squad. The flash missed.
This would feel terrible if Noya hits a timing. Right?
Oh,
like if Noya is able to win this round.
I'm terrified, Doug.
Claudia has ult. This is a big kill onto Claudia!
Oh.
And she stays alive. Noya falls. So you still have the orbital strike in play for the post plant. Well handled. Fluorescent's gonna have to 1v4 to win this. And the scary thing is she's done it before. We'll see if she can pull this one off. No utility left. Her ult. The one exception and laced with 3.
Last round in the half.
All right.
It's our last chance to attack. Buy out the shot.
I'm going to be honest. I think they need the curse activated. The blessing, as you call it. they need to be blessed.
One enemy remaining.
And they're going to have to bless their way into this next round, though. I mean, and we'll see what they have. Remember, they still have the orbital strike in Claudia. Yeah. Kara has her ult too, so they have some tools here. They've got to be able to execute and get the spike down, though, so they can use some of that for post-plant.
I love the approach in that prior round, though. You can see they broke the Sage Wall, they reset, they waited for the aggression. I think that's the secret to beating the Sage comp. But look at the immediate adjustment from V1. This time they're like, okay, you're going to break our Sage Wall, we're going to op on top of it. Dare you to shoot it this round.
Sarah's the one with it too. So once again, it feels like version 1 are just winning the rounds from beginning to end, right? They aggressively take the space, they deny some of the info, they get the orb in the hands of Alexis so she can use her Seekers, and Floor's gonna follow with it. Take the space, there's nothing to crunch. They've left Sarah on an island with the
Is she gonna shoot the ult through the TP?
Oh, I thought so too, yeah, I thought so too. But it's just not gonna be the case. Look at Floor. Floor's already pushing through it. They've got the nade, they've got them trapped in, and Sarah's repositioned! She's able to take care of Claudia, and now has a rifle, and they're all there. She's got to be able to connect on him. Only gets one more, but is that enough?
We're in a 2-on-3. This is very doable. Kara's holding the hookah jump out. 2 players in hookah, but the cascade is perfect. Combined with the sky flash, they're out.
Look at that, dude. Look at how methodical that is.
Diffusing in the cove yet again.
There's no way, and I don't think they know. They don't know. They have no idea. Mel's just gonna hold it. Another round for version 1.
Switching sides.
Those diffuses in the Cove. The Sage walls. There was just so much cheese V1 brought to that half that I mean, Cole wishes probably they could replay that right now.
Yeah.
I don't think necessarily their strats were bad. I think their early round approach ended up getting solved super quick. But there were several rounds I think they could have won.
Yeah, also, I mean, keep it a buck with you. I saw, I mean, you mentioned it, right? In one of the early rounds when you were looking at the interaction between Sky and Harbor, it felt like they didn't show everything they had that they could have, right? Yeah. So they keep a lot of cards close to self. They're up 8 rounds going into the second half, and now they're on attack, leaning towards B.
Yeah, they're definitely leaning towards B. There's going to be a triple challenge on long B. They're going to dry swing. Oh, my.
Stay down.
Yeah, they may want that one back.
Yeah, I think after such a strategic half that we just saw, that is an insane change of pace coming out of V1.
Yeah.
You know, they just absolutely mechanically diffed Complexity this round. They said, no, we're not going to block vision with the Harbor. We're not going to be cute with that. We're not going to block vision with the Viper. No Sky Flashes. Just swing. Just swing with Ghosts.
Just shoot him in the head. Yeah. It's that simple.
One enemy remaining.
And it seems like this round is wrapped up as well. Lace is left in 1v3, 51 HP. And the spike is planted, so it's not just the remaining members of version 1. She's going to have to navigate the clock as well. As difficult as that is, Noya's swing timing is gorgeous as version 1 get to 11.
Oh, it is not looking good for Complexity. I think at this point, you know, they're looking forward to Haven. Oh, I love the call from Mel right here. Take that momentum, catch Complexity completely off guard. Do not allow them back in this game, and just roll over that site. Look at Mel. She's 4-6 with 10 assists. But I swear her util has had so much impact. That's so unfair.
Yeah. I mean, she hasn't had to do a ton more.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Here.
Complexity choosing to stay with pistols, and it's a lean towards B. 3 stacked here from the defense.
Yeah, the early cascade, just in case there's the Marshal on this site. Wait for it to fall.
Or pop flash through it.
2, 1, flash.
There's the flash, yeah. Well timed on the dog, though. To counter that for just a little bit, and Floor, I mean, this is like the previous round, right? Floor just finds timing as they pinch into hookah while there's an Octagon flood happening at the same time.
Yeah, and the second she sees those players at elbow, the response is just immediate. Coming out of 1B like that, the wall comes up at elbow, the Sage is top wall.
And she's playing ahead of it.
I mean, it's all perfect.
Yeah, and it's so aggressive, too. Again, in the face of the high tide from Lace, Mel just pushes in front of it. Alexis is there with her. Floor had high ground. Even the utility that's intended to deny some of that vision so that Complexity can get in and try to reestablish some control on the site is just disrespected.
One enemy remaining.
It's just another clean round from version 1, and that's map point.
Match point.
I can't believe we started with a pistol. You know, Doug, that was just that stick inside of the code with a Sage ball. It looked so good for Complexity. And to end up here, you know, from that moment is incredible. It just shows how amazing V1 is across so many maps. Again, the triple challenge on Long B. They know they have a massive economic advantage. They're just gonna, you know, keep challenging until they get stopped.
Yeah, I think they may want to go a little aggressive here in A short, too. Look at how far up Lace is. A cascade is deep, and she's crept up right behind it. Claudia's still a stimmy, too. So you wonder if they want to go. That might be enough for version 1 to just hard hit B.
Yeah, Noya spotting out that short. Oh,
what?
No.
Dude, that is... And she gets away. Race tries to force a play, refusing to let Floor go without a fight. And it's another win. It's another win for version 1.
Luckily, 2 trades come in. I mean, there's a chance for Claudia and Lace to salvage this round. Rotating through spawn, they have a lot of vision blockage here between the Brim and the Harbor. But look at this counter flash from Alexis. The second Sarah makes contact.
Floor is there. You see she smoked off, so having to reposition a little bit. There's the flash. And dude, even the small things like standing behind the box so she knew she wouldn't get flash when Alexis's flash comes through is just gorgeous. Top to bottom domination out from version 1. It just doesn't get any cleaner than that.
I mean, there's no other word to describe that, right, Doug? It's just domination. There's nothing else you could say about this map. This was all V1 all the way, and there was never, ever a doubt that they were going to lose this map.
No, I mean, maybe the first couple of rounds were close. They were fun. Yeah. We thought we may have a little something on our hands, as you were saying. But Sean, when you have a proper dismantling of that magnitude on map 1, I mean, maybe you lean into the benefit that it's a best of 5, and you know you're playing a marathon here, right? Yeah. One map isn't going to make or break the series, but that's got to eat at you a little bit when you get slapped around the way they just did.
I mean, it has to, but Bind was never, I believe, a map for Complexity to win in this series, right? They were 0-1. They didn't look good previously on the map, and it's a map where you clearly see V1 has put in tons of work. They picked into weakness, and they have the double bans coming into this best of 5. So it's like the rich get richer type beat. And man, did they abuse that with this opening pick. Going into Haven, I think we'll have a closer game. We've yet to see these teams play each other on that map, actually. So I'm really interested to see how this pans out.
We can only hope that that's going to be the case. We're going to throw it to a break. When we return, map 2 of this Grand Finals best of 5. Don't go anywhere.
I think the most underrated player is probably my teammate Ariel. She's our duelist for the team, and she's just incredible. Like, she will get the job done. She's just amazing at what she does, and she pulls things out of thin air and wins us rounds when we probably shouldn't win them. But yeah, she's the best. She's amazing.
I'm gonna say one of my teammates again. I think Alexis is probably one of the best players I know, simply because like her utility is insane, her comms are insane, she makes plans all the time, she does all these like important things that people don't see, like in terms of stats and stuff.
I think the most underrated player in Game Changers is probably Mel. She's probably not underrated, but she's so good at what she does, and she IGLs so well, and I hope to be her one day, and I hope to just like strive to be what she does for V1 and just that role model for her team. It's amazing.
I think the most underrated player is like Kara. Kara on my team specifically. I think like she's super young and she has so much potential to like actually be really talented in the scene, and like she's so much like more she has so much more room to like improve too, which I have like full potential in Kara as growing as a player.
I would say probably right now Luna Fox would probably be the most underrated free agent, I would say. I think she almost had a shot on Xset and she was unable to obtain it, which I think is a really tough pill to swallow, but it happens with the business, so I understand. But I feel as if any team going to GC3 would find a really great flex player / smokes player in Luna Fox, and a possible IGL as well.
I think the most underrated player in Game Changers right now is Bungie. I think Bungie, she's an amazing player at her role. She's very flexible. She used to play Chamber when Chamber was in the meta, and she's now a duelist player. I think she's really insane. Her op, when I used to scrim with her, was just like insane, and her comms are really great as well. So I think she's definitely one of the most underrated players in Game Changers.